Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Soldier Stories podcast. My name is Mark Ross, and with me this afternoon is Mr. Richard Hess. Richard, you are a retired Air Force and Air National Guard pilot, fighter pilot, I should say, and you are an author as well. And sounds like you've been flying all your life because currently you are a pilot for Delta Airlines, right?
I actually, believe it or not, I retired from Delta in November of 2018. They said once you're 65, you're too old to fly people around. But here I am. I'm 72, going to be 73 in November, and I'm healthy. I pass my physical every 6 months, and I've been flying business jets, flying wealthy clients around the country and heck around the Western Hemisphere for the last 8 years. So, maybe the FAA doesn't quite get it right, but I've been enjoying. Next month will be 50 years of flying.
Mm. Wow. So you've been in the air about as long as you've been living.
Yeah, it's I'm definitely the grandfather of the people I fly with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, welcome to the show, Richard, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here.
Sure.
And the first one here is, what made you join the military?
You know, I grew up on what I call tough streets of New York, and I I had 2 years of college under my belt. I was 20, and we broken home, parents in divorce, and not a pleasant one, of course. And it just, I don't know, at that time of my life, I felt like I was taking a step back for every two steps forward. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And I had a friend that had joined the Air Force, and I had accompanied them down to the recruiting office one afternoon, and just sitting there talking to a recruiter. And the next thing I know, there's a piece of paper in front of me, and he's sticking a pen in my hand, and and then a few seconds later, I was like, "My gosh, what have I done?"
What have you done?
Right? But honestly, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me. It was like the good Lord was pointing me in the direction I needed to go. And so I was enlisted first. I always wanted to get back and get my college done, so I applied for a scholarship while I was in the Air Force, and they gave it to me. So I ended up, going back to school and finished my bachelor's degree. And uh, the military was so good about if you had, let's say, the smarts and you had the desire to put out, there were opportunities. There were always opportunities to do more. So I ended up getting a master's degree paid for by the military.
Mm.
I did first year law school when I was in my late 30s. I used to tease and tell people I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Uh,
Yeah.
and thousands of hours of flight hours, multiple war zones and relief efforts. I mean, it's been uh, everything with the military and then with the airlines. It just, it gave me a chance to basically see the world, raise a family, and you kind of see life for what it is and and what's important.
Mm. How long were you in the Air Force? Well, how long were you in the military altogether? Because you did the
Yeah, I was 28 years, 13 active and 15 in the Air National Guard.
okay, okay. And overall, how would you say your experience was?
It's interesting. I can remember um, I liked active duty, but there was a big part of it where you felt like you weren't in control of your life or in control of your career. And I think that's when I can remember when I was about to have my 30th birthday, and I wasn't really happy with myself because I felt like I wasn't in control of my life. And I think I started looking then at the possibility of I wanted to complete my military career, but I also wanted to have more control. And
Mm.
so by the time I was 32, I was looking at going into the Air National Guard, and there were some opportunities, so I jumped at it. And the Guard was good. It was an extra paycheck. It was financial stability, and
Absolutely.
um, and it gave me a chance to complete my 20 plus years. And and have a retirement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you recall how many missions you flew?
Mark, I've flown in nine different war zones and relief efforts during my years, and y- I don't know, the hours would probably be measured in hundreds, if not thousands. I just honestly don't remember the exact number. Um, you know, I like to tease that I never make the same mistake three times. Well, let me tell you, after my ninth deployment, my wife says, you don't have anything more to prove. You can retire now. So that's what I
Absolutely.
did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Richard, as I was reading about you, I saw that you participated in recovering bodies in Guyana during the Reverend Jim Jones aftermath.
Yeah, they drank
Uh,
the Kool-Aid and then baked in the heat and sun. Uh, Terrible thing. Um,
Jeez.
was I mean, this is a general audience podcast, but I can remember going into Grenada in 1983, and it was funny. I had a co-pilot. We were flying airlift at the time and flying Army troops in, um, and I can remember on guard hearing I think it was a Marine. Uh, Attack helicopter that was screaming Mayday as they had been hit and they went down. And I guess a few days later, they managed to get to the site and they brought the bodies out and we flew them out. And even though they were in body bags and then in like a metal coffin, it reeked. It was amazing to me how once you've smelled what a human being is like as it's decaying, you would never mistake that for something else.
Mhm.
And it just sort of brought home um the significance of what that was. I can remember going into Saudi Arabia, um, after Saddam got stupid and went into Kuwait, and
Mhm.
looking down at the desert and saying, this isn't worth even one American life, or going into Lebanon, Beirut, after the compound bombing and bringing in the fresh-faced Marines and bringing out, the dead bodies. It's just a lot of the operations just basically sobered you and gave you a true uh, understanding about how precious life is and how sometimes how easily it can be taken away.
Mm. Man. Can you recall what your most dangerous mission was?
Hmm. Believe it or not, it wasn't in a war zone. It was in a training flight. I was flying the A-10, the Warthog, and we were doing an exercise with inspectors there, and we were in upstate New York at a bombing range, and we were simulating that at that time during the Cold War, the Russians had what was called the ZSU 23-2, twin barrel 23 millimeter anti-aircraft gun, and there was a specific flight maneuver that we would do to to avoid being hit by that weapon, and it involves some pretty heavy maneuvering at low altitude. And I kind of had the nose pointed at the ground for about a half a second too long. And when I pulled up, the airplane just kind of mushed and was still sinking towards the ground. And that that rush of the ground getting bigger in your eyes, and
Mm.
no, and just that second you knew, oops, I screwed up, and I
Mhm.
managed to not hit the ground, and I flew away. Lesson learned, but that was probably the most dangerous thing I ever did in an airplane.
Mm. Wow. Y- You flew quite a bit. Uh, can you describe what can you describe what it's like being inside the cockpit of a plane? Because I've never been on a plane. Uh, but
Ever?
what's it like for you to fly? You know what I mean? Just to be in the air and just, doing what you do.
When you first learn to fly, you're a little bit scared and you don't, it's not a comfortable thing. Um, but kind of years later, uh, and I thought about this, it's like it's like the earth, when you're on the earth, you have all of these little problems that are eating away at you. And when you get in the flight, when you go up higher in altitude, it's almost like they fade away. They're not important at the moment. And to me, it just kind of settles your mind, and there's a calmness to it. Uh, it's a wonderful feeling. They say you have to do something 10,000 times to get really good at it, to where it's innate. I've been flying almost 30,000 hours. I feel like I get in an airplane and they're not wings, they're an extension of my arms. And it's not a fuselage, it's an extension of my body. It just feels like, you're part of it. It's a neat feeling.
I bet it is. I bet it is. And I'm assuming you had your family and your children at that time that you were doing your missions. I I can't imagine what type of toll that took on your family as you were out there flying these missions,
Yeah.
because you mentioned that some of them are dangerous and some of them weren't, but the fact of the matter was, Richard, is that you did it, that you were out there and you sacrificed a lot of your time.
Yeah, I can
you know
remember when I was on active duty flying airlift, we were gone. I kept track one year. We were gone 2 out of every 3 days for an entire year. It put a lot of stress on my wife. We had 2 young children at the time, and yeah, I'd be going into dangerous places, and she'd be stuck at home worrying and wondering. It put a lot of stress on. On us. In fact, it put enough stress that my next assignment, I volunteered to go back to the training command so I could be home more and be
Mhm.
there for the kids and for her. And uh, and also at the end of my career, the 28 years gone by, um, it was taking a lot of time because here I was an airline captain, and I was now a senior commander in the Air National Guard, which is really just another full-time job.
Mhm.
And you don't deploy any less or get operated any less than active duty. In fact, you supplement them, during different missions or things going on. So it's amazing when I retired from the military, it was like someone handed me my life back, and you never realized how much of it was missing until you got it back, and then you realized, how much you had sacrificed.
Mm. Did you experience PTSD from all that, Richard?
You know, Honestly, I don't think I did. I would say one of the only times that I really felt that, um, I owned a company. I ran a company over in Alabama for 10 years where we did aircraft maintenance, mostly on military aircraft. And we had a guy that had bought, it was a Czech trainer, an L-39, neat airplane, and he was using it to perform at air shows and that kind of thing. He had been at our place, uh, had his airplane at our place. We had done some maintenance work on it. And then that Friday evening, I had already left. I was going to an event, and he came that afternoon and was going to fly his airplane back to somewhere in North Carolina. And the weather was really kind of bad at our place, and it was bad back home where he was. And he ended up crashing shortly after takeoff. And it was right around Christmas time. And I remember he had sent us a card with a picture of his family. Now, this is an older gentleman. He's got a wife, he's got adult children, he's got grandchildren. So I got this nice picture, you know, along with some Christmas cards. And here's a nice picture of his family. And uh, the day after he had crashed, because he was flying an airplane with hot ejection seats, they called us in, and literally myself and one emergency rescue person, we got into this muddy, bloody jet fuel filled hole
Mm.
and extracted his remains.
Oh.
And I can remember for weeks afterwards when I thought about him, here was this nice picture on the wall, Christmas photograph of him and his family, but in my mind's eye, what I saw was this, horribly broken body still strapped into an ejection seat when they hit the ground. So if that's PSASD, I guess that was what I experienced.
Yeah, yeah. And how was your transition I always ask this question of veterans. How was your transition back to civilian life, sir?
You know, to be a good pilot, you have to be a bit of a pain in the neck to live with, because it's part of your nature and it's part of your training that you approach everything very precisely. You know what I mean? And so you don't just turn it on and turn it off. Turn it on at work and turn it off at home. You're like that all the time. I
Mm,
mean, if you don't pardon my English, it makes you a pain in the ass to live with. There's no doubt about that.
absolutely, yeah,
And
yes.
so that continues. And God bless my wife. We've been married 51, almost, yeah, 51 and a half years now. And it's funny, her high school best friend, who we're still friends with, when we had our 50th last year, she told me, she says, I don't know how she's put up with you that long. So it's just, the nature of the personality and the career, it makes you a hard person to live with. So um, and plus, being in an airplane and seeing things from in the air versus, let's say, someone who's on the ground and seeing it face to face, I think we get away with having it a little easier, certainly, than someone that's right there on the ground, facing off with the enemy. So I feel like for me, I didn't have a difficult transition.
That's good because I've spoken to a few veterans and they did not have good transitions, nor did I have a good transition. But it's good to hear when uh, veterans uh, that had a good transition because many of us, like I said, we didn't, and a lot of us suffered behind that.
Sure.
You know, so that I'm pleased that you had a good one. I'm pleased that you did. Uh, let's talk about your books for a quick minute. You wrote a memoir called High Flight, and you also co-authored a book called Night of the Bear. Talk about your memoir and your book.
Well, and just to add to that, here in the first week of October, my second novel, Red Tide, is coming out, and I wrote that solo. I'll start with the memoir. I had started um, I had started writing the memoir um, probably about 15 years before I finished it. I don't remember exactly what caused me to start writing it, but I guess I just had a lot of thoughts that I wanted to get down. And I thought maybe my children and especially my grandchildren, when I'm long gone, they might like to read that and have a better understanding of who their grandfather was. Um, I had a tough upbringing, tough streets in New York. My
Mm,
mom was married 4 times. Uh, the dad I grew up with was literally physically uh, aggressive and until I was 15 and I decided I'd had enough. Uh,
sure.
so, I took some things with me into my adulthood that were not wonderful. But as I got older and I was looking back, I started thinking faith, family, friends. And as I wrote the book, I wanted to um, maybe, I hope, put forth a little bit of wisdom. Uh, but I didn't talk about different experiences in my life just for the adventure of them. Everything I wrote, I wanted there to be a reason why I wrote about it and what did I learn about people or about life when it happened. And so the memoir is really as much about my faith and as much about my appreciation for the people around me.
Okay. And I like the title of your book, Night of the Bear. That sounds pretty cool.
Well, it is actually a cool book. Uh, we had a friend of mine that we were squadron mates back in the day, and we've stayed friends ever since. And we had a friend that had passed away that had started an outline for, an idea for a book. And the guy that died, his brother asked us, do you want to take this project on? And so Alan and I did, and Alan Cockrell, and it took us, gosh, it probably took us about 4 years to to write and edit the book. Um, but it was a really good book, a really good idea. The thing that Alan and I insisted on is that he's to me, I feel like he's a better writer and I'm a better technical writer. So between the two of us, we kind of covered all the bases. But we wanted to write something that you might read, and when you're done reading it, you might set it down and say, huh, that could happen, or that's really the way it is, and this is a possibility. So
Mm.
both Night of the Bear and my new book, Red Tide, they're uh, they're books that you'd read and say, this is calling it like it really is, and this is something maybe we might want to be concerned about or be thinking about.
Okay. Okay. Uh, so you're currently, oh, so you are retired from Delta Airlines, so you're retired altogether.
Well, I'm a I either own or I'm an owner in 5 companies. Um,
Okay.
I'm starting to wind down one or two of them, and I'm hoping maybe by the end of this year I'll have them all wound down. But like I said, I'm going to be 73 in November, and um, I've got young grandchildren nearby that I love dearly, and I would like to have more time for them,
Mm.
and more time for my wife. I mean, she's my God, not every day is a great day, but she's had the patience of a saint to put up with my schedule
Yeah.
and with my travels,
Yeah.
and she deserves, I think, a little bit more from me now that we're older and we're financially set. And I do the flying because I love the flying, not because we
Yeah.
need the paycheck. But it's time to let it go. I think 50 years is enough, don't you?
I think so too. I profoundly think so too, Mr. Richard. uh, sir, if you had if you had an inspirational message to share to those that experienced uh, traumatic situations like you did growing up, what would that be? What would that message be to them?
The I think the hardest thing, if someone is dealing with a difficult situation, is to feel alone in their feelings.
Mm,
And
mhm.
I am sure if you have personally, let's say, felt PTSD, you feel like you're dealing with it by yourself.
Yes.
And I'm sure that makes it worse because you don't have an outlet. And without having that outlet, it builds the stress. And I think that's so important that you not feel alone. To me, I was raised Presbyterian. My mom's family are French Canadian, so it's Catholic. So I was exposed to that also from a
Sure.
very early age. My
Uh-huh.
wife is New York Sicilian, she's Catholic. And uh, like these guards units that I was in, especially down here in the South, my last unit was in Mississippi, probably Baptist or whatever, Protestant. So I've had exposure to all a lot of different Christian faiths, but to me, it's having the faith. And what's interesting is, we're practicing Catholics, but I have a certain affinity for the Protestant religions because it felt more like you were having a one-on-one relationship. And I feel like anyone that suffers for what they're holding inside, I think it's important that they have faith and that they have a one-on-one relationship with the Lord.
Mm.
And that's a start. And then the other part of it is to have family or friends that are there for you, even when times are tough. Um, I didn't always get along with my mom. We had sometimes conflicts, but she had a lot of wisdom to give me. And one of the things she told me, she says, at the end of your life, if you have one handful of true friends, you're a rich person. And
Mm.
there's a lot of truth to that. It's easy to be your friend when times are good.
Oh, man.
But what about when times are not so good?
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
as a former fighter pilot, we used to say, a good friend will bail you out of jail. A great friend will be sitting there beside you in the cell saying, damn, that was fun. You know, so however you look at it, to me, it's important that you have a good faith and you have friends and or family that can help you get through it.
Yeah, and a even better friend will say, "Why the hell you get your ass in jail in the first place?
That's right.
I'm not going in there with you."
You know, I had military trips where people asked for me by name because they knew that I would keep them out of jail.
Yeah,
And
like
maybe
I'm not
another
going. I'm going
maybe
home,
another
buddy.
time we can share some of those crazy stories.
Yeah,
But yeah, you know, you need people there to be looking out for you.
for
And
sure.
unfortunately, I think too many people go through difficult times and they don't have that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's important to have God in your life. You know, uh, without that spiritual anchor, I mean, you go where the wind takes you, and
Um,
and most times I would say that the wind would take you to places that you don't want to go. So I think it's important to have that spiritual anchor in your life for
You
sure.
know, I'm as type A personality as you get, and even I wake up in the morning and I say, "Okay, Lord, where are we going today?"
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, He denies you the things you shouldn't have. You may not realize it at the time. Maybe later you reflect on it and you figure it out, and then
Mm,
He offers up the opportunities He wants you to consider. And I've always been impressed with how, even when I was not aware of His presence, he
mm,
was there
mm,
and pointing the way.
mm. He's omnipresent.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Richard, how can people contact you?
Um, well, I can give you my email. Uh, it's my last name, Hess. If you know the phonetic alphabet, Hotel Echo Sierra Sierra
Mm,
737 at AOL.com. And I always respond with my name and my cell number. So, you know, if someone needs it, it'll be there as well.
okay.
And you know, I would love, honestly, I would love for them to consider getting the books, High Flight, A Pilot's Journey Through Life, and Night of the Bear, and Red Tide should come out for pre-orders shortly. But again, with the novels, if you like a military thriller that that you think is a scenario that you know could happen. If you, I can't begin to tell you the amount of research that it takes to do a military thriller when you're talking about uh, different organizations for a particular country, their equipment, airplanes, submarines, ships, whatever. You know, it's a lot of research, and so you know we try to make the books educational and at the same time possible. So I promise I don't think anyone who buys the books will be disappointed.
Okay. Where can you get the books at?
Amazon is where I typically go. They're certainly there, and some of the others, a couple other sites, but I usually use Amazon.
Okay. Okay. You heard him. Go on Amazon and check out his books. High Flight and Night of the Bear.
And Red Tide here in about a month.
Red Tie.
Red Tide,
Red Tide. Red Tide.
yeah. The first novel, Night of the Bear, is it's I'll give you this hint. It's a Russian plot against the U.S. government. Okay,
Okay.
and I'll leave it at that. Red
Okay.
Tide shifts the scene to the South China Sea,
Mm,
and if any of your audience, watches or reads the news, they know some of the hoopla that's going on over there, and you can imagine
yes.
what that scenario is. And
Absolutely.
I promise you, you'll love them.
All right. All right. Mr. Richard Hess, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, sir. Uh, I wish success on your books and peace on your twilight years as you enjoy your grandkids.
Hey, it ain't over yet, baby. As we used to say, it ain't over till the fat lady sings and she's
Yeah.
been clearing her throat yet.
Say they ain't over till it's over, baby.
Mark, God bless you. And to you, good on you for the podcast that you do.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate that. And to all those that are listening to us, please go on to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button and help the podcast grow. Mr. Hess, much love and blessings to you and your family. And have a great and awesome weekend. I know today is Friday, so yeah, I can say have a great weekend, sir.
Perfect. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Soldier Stories podcast. Be blessed, stay safe, and until next time, peace, everybody. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Take care.